So Tina had her second powerlifting meet over the weekend. And for anyone unfamiliar with powerlifting, particularly at a meet, is a competition involving the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. And you get 3 single rep attempts to lift the most weight that you can. Your heaviest successful lifts from the squat, the bench, and the deadlift are all combined, and that makes your total at the end of the day. The person in your weight class and age group with the highest total wins. If 2 people have the same total, then the person with the lowest body weight wins, because it's harder to lift more when you weigh less. So that's a quick little intro. So I just wanted to talk about what we didn't do perfectly going into this one and what we're going to change for next time. So the first and most important thing I want to say is that Tina did spectacularly. Like, she always gives you 5,000%. She always does exactly what's asked of her. So nothing on that level basically went wrong. That's what I want to make abundantly clear. She always puts max effort in, that's what she did. So what we did wrong, first of all, on the programming side of things, we, by which I really mean I, peaked her a little too early. So what that means is, to peak for a powerlifting competition, the weights that you lift go up, and the overall volume of work that you do each week goes down. And then as you get closer and closer to the meet, you lift some really heavy weights, but you're really not doing very much at all. So that's to let all of the accumulated fatigue from all of the weeks of training drop away, and make sure that your skill at lifting heavy weights is as specific as you possibly can. So you want to have skill, which you can think of as how much of your potential strength you can express, high, and you want to have your fatigue low. So you want to try and get those as far away from each other as you possibly can. And when someone is a beginner, you don't need to peak them for that long, because essentially they need, like, as a beginner you can handle a bit more volume, you need a bit more volume, by which I just mean workload through the week. And so if you drop that too much, then you end up just beating yourself up with the overly heavy weights with not enough volume. So we did essentially a muscle growth block first, then a strength block where the weights got heavier and the volume dropped, and then we did a peaking block where the weights got even heavier and the volume dropped even more. Now the funny thing was, Tina was hitting some really good PRs, like about 3/4 of the way through the strength block. And really, looking back with the benefit of hindsight, what we should have done is have a little extra on the muscle building side of things, and then just finished up with a slightly smaller strength block, and then a single week off, and then straight into the meet from there. So we added on this extra peaking block, which, because Tina's not been doing it for that long, she didn't need. And so that ended up putting her at a slightly worse off position than she would have been. So that's what we're going to do for the next one, just chop out that end block. Also, there are a few things, like we didn't go into it super prepared. I think we were a little blasé, because her first meet was kind of a starter meet, and they let a few things slide that then threw us in this one. Just like small things, honestly, but they all sort of add up. And if you're already stressed out about something and you're already kind of on edge and you really hope it'll go well, then little things like that can really knock you for a loop. Like the shirt that Tina wore underneath her singlet, which was passed, as in PASSED, so they thought that it was fine at the first meet, didn't quite make the rules at this one, because they were applying the rules strictly. And so we did just manage to get it passed in the end, but there was just a few little things like that we will now know for next time, and we won't get caught by. And then the other major one was, I think Tina spoke about this in one of her Instagram posts, let's compare it to running. So if you're trying to peak for something like a half marathon, you would expect your times during that race, like the actual day of the race itself, to be faster than any of your times in training. And I think we kind of went into it with that mindset, like if you go into a powerlifting meet and you've done your training right, then you should PR on the squat and the bench and the deadlift, and it's going to be amazing. And that is not the case. So for instance, she PR'd on the squat, which is the first lift. So you do all your squats, all your bench pressing, and then finally all your deadlifts. And she did this big PR, lifetime PR on the squat, and it really took a lot out of her. She really pushed it to the max at that point. And we didn't really know this time how much that would drain her for bench press, which she then didn't get her third lift on bench, and that then affected her psychologically going into deadlifts. And she still managed to claw that back, but physically she was still, that heavy squat was a hit. And what we will do going forward is really make sure that we see each meet as an entire day. So none of those lifts happen in a vacuum. And if you're going to max out on the squat at the start, then you'd best be preparing to have lower numbers on the bench and the deadlift. So what we'll do next time is, let's say instead of doing what we did this time, which was go to absolute 100% of what she could do on the squat, is we'll maybe go for 93, 95%, just leave a little bit in the tank. So still go for more than she got last time, still try and push the envelope a bit, but just not pushing it absolutely as far as we can go, because that way it affects the rest of the day. So you want to have a bit in the tank for the squats, then that gives you a nice amount of energy for bench, leave a little bit in the tank again on bench, and then go all out on deadlifts in the end. And then have a good day, go 9 for 9, which means hit every lift that you attempt, and then you feel successful. So that's basically all we didn't quite do right going into this one, but it's all a learning experience, and I know we'll do tons better next time. So hopefully this was interesting and entertaining, and if you are thinking of going into powerlifting, I'd strongly recommend it. It's ridiculously awesome. All right, peace out, y'all.